even though it's completely written in poetry, it is what you interpret into it, is what we're going to be explaining as well. And remember, these Wikipedia pages is also what they are using in the courts to mean whatever they mean. And the reason why we're speaking about the warranty deed, the quiet title, the clear title, the loyal title, and all of these other words is because they don't exactly tell you the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They hide it. They're called noble omissions. So in us speaking about the whole structure of these titles and who owns your house and who the feudal lords are and things like that, we're creating a bigger picture so the general public can see that, wow, there's a lot of omission from this word, but when we put it all together, we clearly get to see who owns what. And the ordinary person on the street owns nothing. And that's what we'll be talking about, okay?
A warranty deed is a type of deed where the grantor, that is the seller, guarantees that he or she holds clear title to a piece of real estate and has a right to sell it to the buyer or the grantee. Clear title is the phrase used to state that the owner of the real property owns it free and clear of encumbrances. In more limited sense, it is used to state although the owner does not own clear title, it is nevertheless within the power of the owner to convey, the word convey clear title. That sounds like around in a circle, Mark. Why don't they just come out clearly? What do they want to say here?
If they did, they'd be caught selling death pledges to the general public, which carries a death sentence. You sell a death pledge, that's slave trading, and that carries a penalty, a decapitation penalty. You lose your head over it. So, you can see that this clear title gives you the image that it's crystal clear. When you read a little bit further, it's all starting to become very murky ground. And it goes on to say that for example, a property may be encumbered by a mortgage. Encumbered means, obstrude, obstacle in way. Okay, I'm encumbering you speaking, and so on and so forth. Okay, wow. And then it goes on to say that since the mortgage company itself does not own clear title, okay, but it's only an encumbrance, which essentially means they've taken a charge out of the property with land registry, but they don't own it. They don't have clear title. The owner doesn't have clear title, and banks are not allowed to own land. So we have a dangling participle verb where it's pretending to convey that you own it, but nobody really owns it. It looks like it's something for settlement.
So, for example, a property may be encumbered by a mortgage, and then it goes on to say this encumbrance means that nobody has clear title to the property.
And yes, of course, the federal postal courts know exactly who owns it, and we'll explore that further. So hopefully, do you think that the audience have understood what we're saying to them and what we're conveying them? They're all hiding it just in this one sentence right here. This encumbrance means that no one has clear title to the property. Okay, and that's what stands out. So we can go back to warranty deed. The general warranty is essentially saying, in order for you to do your due diligence, you better go and find out who actually owned the original property. Okay, which will be the deed of trust in the US, or land patents, to find out who owns it. Because the originator is the one that created the system of trust of the grantor and the guarantees that are in place. So if you don't settle it with them, you're actually, nobody owns anything. Yeah, you have to go back to the origins, is what it's saying. A special warranty deed protects the grantee only against title defects arising from the actions or omissions of the guarantor. So the whole thing is an omission. The whole thing is an empty promise. That's what it's saying. You have to now have a special warranty deed. You know, you have to have insurance to insure yourself from the insurer, just in case the insurer defects. And then you have to take out another insurance to make sure that insurance covers 80 or 90% of the payouts that they may or may not pay. And then you have to take out another insurance to create the shortfall of what they may not pay out. So you have to insure against the insurer not paying out. You have to ensure that the insurer, that you have to ensure that the shortfall, which is always 20% less, if they do pay, will be paid by taking out another insurance. Hey, this is a very good scam.
They may as well call it the mother of deeds or something like that, you know, to kind of like extra insurance, the mother of warranty deed or something like that. You know, this is like, what words can give you assurance or assurance?
You know, there is none. They're just asking you to do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. I think we can now move on to another one. Let's imagine this is a car, okay? And I want to sell that car to Hugh. In order for me to sell this car, I have to prove 100% that this car is mine. So in order to do that, I have to say that I own the engine outright, that I now have to also sign another title to say that I own the 4 wheels and the spare wheel outright, and that I own every component of the car outright, which is under presumption and assumption that it has a clear title and under warranty deed. Then it goes on to say that it is the buyer's due diligence to make sure that I own every part of this car. If the buyer has already hired a lawyer, a solicitor, and a conveyancer, and a surveyor, they're not liable, even though you've paid them to do due diligence. They're not liable. It's the buyers, you know, as they say in Latin, buyer be aware. So it doesn't matter if you've hired 1 million professionals. It just simply means that you have to make sure when this car is being sold that I have 100% title, clear title, warranty deed, loyal title, registration, and number plate are all mine. That is about as complicated and having as 1,001 middlemen for me to just simply sell one item to Hugh, whether that's a car or a house. And they've made it complicated so 101 middlemen can sit in between telling you that we're just going to do something for you, but we're not liable. And what do we call that? We call it from immunity from prosecution. That's why chartered surveyors are immune, because they have a crown seal to say we're creating immunity that you'll never be prosecuted. Solicitors, unless they've been caught lying and cheating so badly, and also leaving out the other middleman, they'll be struck out. But you can't prosecute them. They're essentially saying that we are immune from doing anything, but we're going to charge you, but we're not liable for anything. And here's the crunch, ladies and gentlemen. In modern day terms, if you buy a car, you might own the car outright, but the batteries inside the modern cars are not owned by you. You only lease it. So when you sell that car to Hugh, just like this property, you're only selling what you own and the leases that go with it. Like, for example, some of them will still be, the batteries are still the manufacturer's property. The manufacturer's property is inside the car that you own. So that's like the seller selling a house, okay? But there's a piece of brick there that the seller owns outright, but you don't own that brick. You own the rest of it, but you don't own that brick. So as a result, he can come back in and claim that brick and therefore your whole house as is. That's why a car manufacturer can call in a car anytime, because his battery, his brick is inside the car that you own. And that's how these electricity, gas meters and all that things work, because that's why the rich people make sure that they do their own due diligence, that they own something outright. And that's why they put their letterbox outside of their property. That's why they put their gas meter, electricity meter outside of their property. So these people don't trespass into it. So here's the thing. Even if they did have clear title, it's still saying if the originator goes bankrupt, if the originator, the guarantor, went bankrupt of selling this house, they can still come after your house. If the person that originally sold it in the 1700 under his estate and went bankrupt today, they come after your houses. And isn't that what we're seeing in the US? But the US people have no idea that these properties are actually owned by the fiefdoms and the chieftains. Okay.
Mark,
okay?
That's not all. That's not all. And there are other things like easements and restrictions above and underneath the ground. Hey, do I really own this block of land? If they find something and they need to bulldozer you out, you got to go out because that's the restrictions.
Yeah, in Britain, you only own 4 inches or 6 inches of the topsoil. Yeah, everything else belongs to the crown, albeit the chieftain, because he owns all minerals on where he is. Okay, and that's the City of London chieftain. He is the control of all minerals. We're also mineral. So, as you said, you don't own what you think. Let me paraphrase that again. If you have clear title, warranty deed of a car, it's no guarantee that you own the tread on the tire that's on the car. You might own the tire, but not the tread itself. And certainly you have no rights to be on the tarmac on the road. It's just a convoluted way of saying we're not going to give you any closure. We're not going to ever tell you who owns what. And whatever you think you own, the land underneath, the land on top, the topsoil, the house, the property, the title, you don't own any of it.
An action to quiet title is a lawsuit brought in a court having jurisdiction over property dispute in order to establish a party's title to real property or personal property having a title of against anyone or everyone, and thus quiet any challenges or claims to the title.
What does quiet mean? We'll explore that. For me, it just simply means something that is quiet. Okay. In their fictional word, remember, everything is in the opposite direction. It means very loud. And guess what the first opening sentence is? An action to quiet title is a lawsuit. It's a lawsuit brought into court having jurisdiction. Who owns the quiet title? The court do.
Oh, an action to quiet title. Oh, okay, it's a lawsuit.
It's an action.
Okay.
It's a lawsuit. It's another word for a lawsuit that allows the court to take jurisdiction of that title. Title means piece of paper, having a claim on your piece of paper. Okay?
Oh.
And I'm giggling. But general public, what more do you need to hear apart from that it's just a cloud on the title, which means it's fuzzy-wuzzy, okay? It's privity, which means it's owned by a private person, non-public, and private means you're not going to know because they're not going to tell you because it's private. It's like a private partner. You're like a silent partner or a quiet partner. But they're essentially saying that you essentially are not going to know who owns what, and your clear title is just a way of the court saying, no, we control it. We own it. Now watch us take money from you making an argument, as to who we should allow to lease our lands from, our properties, which are all run by privateers because they're the ones that issue the banknotes, private Federal Reserve notes. Okay. Look, yes.
Wow.
What more is there that is so obvious in your face. It's all done under poetry and it's Shakespearean language. This is where the judiciary system originates from the 17th century, when Shakespeare created what is known as the coloring of the law. That means you take something and you create 1,000 words to describe this, and that's what the judiciary do. They have their origins in the Royal Shakespeare Company. Just to talk, talk, talk. The yakety yak, yakety yak. Don't talk back. Yakety yak. Don't talk back.
Quitclaim deed is a legal instrument, again legal, that is used to transfer interest in real property. The entity transferring its interest is called the grantor, and when the quitclaim deed is properly completed and executed, it transfers any interest to the grantor has in the property to the recipient, called the grantee. The owner or grantor terminates or quits any right and claim to the property, thereby allowing the right or claim to transfer the recipient or grantee. That's it. So he quits it. He quits the claim.
Yeah. So here's the thing. When you've completely paid off your mortgage, do the mortgage company still say to you, you should pay at least £1 towards it? Or do they simply say, you owe us nothing? Do they still collect some money from you, even though you own it? And did they ever give you the title deeds, the quitclaim deeds, where the owner has completely washed his hands off of it? Because if he hasn't, if he has not quit his claim on your property, i.e. that small brick, he still has a claim on your property. And these are all called open contracts. Open contracts. I'm going to paraphrase it. I sold a car to Hugh. And I gave him everything. I told him I own this, I own that. But I left and I'm paraphrasing for comical relief, I left my bag of drugs in the glove compartment. And it's my drugs. But I did not quit the claim. So I go after his car for having my drugs, in his glove compartment. And of course, all I have to do is just phone up the police and say, hey, this guy's got drugs in his car. He loses the car, he loses everything. I just go and claim the car, because within the 3-day rescissions act, the sale has not taken place.
Oh, dear. That's a bad deal, Mark. I don't want to buy your car. That's a great example. This is exactly what happens to the house as well. If the seller doesn't quit it and you paid it off, it's still there.
And as Federal Postal Court judges, this is only like 2% of what we have to go through. A Lloydal title constitute ownership of real property. In their fictional world, something that they think they own outright, okay? As in coins that they hold, the money in their hand, the pen in my hand, which is all supposed to be, in fictional words, reality, something that's concrete. And it also goes on to say Lloydal rights relates to the concept of land held in Lloydium. Here's the word. Lloydium does not mean the land itself. It means the location of the land. It's saying that we own the GPS, the global positioning satellite coordinations of that piece of land. It's not referring to the land. It's saying that we own the Lloydium of it, which means the postcode. Postcode is post office and military, upper and lowercase. Lowercase, of course, is domestic. Uppercase, postcode, zip code is military and commercial, protected by the military. The Lloydium, it refers to the actual ordnance survey coordinates, which is what the original chieftains used. And then the post office took over with their zip codes. And then you have the global positioning satellite systems that produce your GPS recording. So that's what the Lloydium means, okay? And it's also saying you can claim that even from the chieftain. So when we claim our alloidial title, as it were. We're claiming the actual location relative to the entire planet and the universe, as to that we own that under universal standards of units of measurement, which is called IS units, okay, which is also post office metrics, meters as opposed to inches, as opposed to ordnance survey, which are all different ways of claiming land and the location of it. But here's the thing. Most property ownership in common law jurisdiction is free sample. It's going to get more convoluted. And the convolution takes place here. We don't use alloidial. What do we use? We use loidial position. Yeah. Because alloidial, like a man, means no man. A means no, because the prefix a means no, as in a moral. So we use alloidial. So when you understand the parsé of these words, you kind of figure out that it's now going to get even more complicated. Now this clear ownership seems to have a fee simple. Then you have imminent domain, which is another word of saying dominion. The queen, if she likes you, will give you dominion over the land, which means you don't need planning permission to do things on your land, but long as you don't dig too deep and interfere with aquifers and possible railway tunnels and things like that. Yeah, it's going to get complicated. What they're saying to you again is that you actually don't own anything, but we're going to give you the illusion that you own it.
Wow. So we've gone through a few terms, huh? A warranty deed, quiet title, quit claim, clear title, and allodial title, all of which never gave the owner supposedly closure. What is the process of buying out these feudal lords? How do we actually gain or own something outright, Mark?
Then we have to do our due diligence. So we'll take each component word and find out what it means in Shakespearean language. So let's have a look at the word exclusively warranty. Look up the word warranty and let's find out what it means.
In contract law, a warranty is a promise which is not a condition of the contract or an innominate term. It is a term not going to the root of the contract and which only entitles the innocent party to damages if it is breached, i.e. the warranty is not true or the defaulting party does not perform the contract in accordance with the terms of the warranty. A warranty is not a guarantee. It is a mere promise. It may be enforced. I don't like to read this, Mark. It gets a bit murky now. It may be enforced.
Let's stop, shall we? In Shakespearean language, it's saying, buyer beware. You're not buying what you think you buy. So we have guarantee. Guarantee, of course, does not exist in nature, and nobody can ever guarantee anything. It's an oxymoron word. There is no guarantees. And you cannot take a warranty out on something that doesn't exist. So you can't take out a warranty on a guarantee or a guarantor because it doesn't exist. You can't have guarantee on anything because you're not capable of doing it. Okay? That's why we don't use words like guarantee, because nobody can offer it. With this level of garbage, how can you possibly guarantee anything? But you do have what is known as dutiful performance. You do have due diligence. You do have performance, you know? So the system has been set up in such a way that no seller, no buyer can actually guarantee anything. This is not like moving parts. If they cannot say that I own that piece of land in any language whatsoever, they don't own it. And that's the pure, simple sadness of it. What it's saying is that you cannot guarantee it, even if you took out a warranty. And since a guarantee doesn't exist because it's incapable, because it's in private, which means you don't know who actually owns it, who actually owns a house or property outright, because it's under privacy. And therefore, you have no chance of uncovering it. So no point taking out any warranties, no point asking for guarantees.
Right. Yeah, it's about the correctness of a claim and the priority of a claim, isn't it? The superiority of a claim to that thing. Because you said there's no guarantee, there is no warranty, then there's only a claim.
There is what is known
world.
as good faith. It's in good faith. And because you transferred it over to me in good faith, that good faith always holds true. And he who does not perform the three wise monkeys, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil when making contract. If you do, you avoided it. That good faith was violated by the chieftains. It was violated by the judiciary. It was violated by your states, your governments. They fell foul of good faith. And that's what it's saying. Okay? The good faith has been tainted. And once you taint a good faith or commerce or anything, one of these things, you break the foundations of trust. Once trust is broken, the person that's breaking it has vacated their position on this planet. They can never be trusted again to do anything because they've been caught lying. That's what that means. When you sell your property or when they sell you a mortgage or a death pledge, did they ever show good faith? A manufacturer is doing it all the time, but these people have not. Do the car manufacturers show good faith? No, they don't, because you can't return their product even if it's faulty. They'll just keep on fixing it. If you buy a car and there's a manufacturer's problem with it, they'll never reimburse you with it. They'll just say, oh, keep bringing it in, and they'll just keep fixing it. So if it needs to be fixed 2-3 times a month, they'll just keep fixing it and you don't have a car. And there's nothing you can do about it. This is the type of violation that we are trying to stop on this planet as Chief Federal Postal Court judges and as judges and the clerks and the staffs that go with it.
So, Mark, are you saying the mortgage company, when they do the contracts up and they say, you must pay us blah, 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 and this interest and that term, but they never really say, oh, when you finish paying it off, we give you this absolute ironclad guarantee that the house is yours? That they never really give you that? Is that what you said?
That's correct, yeah. And you never get it. Even if you own the house outright, if you don't have some sort of a deed to it, you don't own it. And if you're still paying a minimum of £1, which they sometimes ask you, you're still tied in with that contract. Because ironically, once you've paid off the mortgage, you now become a non-paying tenant. The 25 years is just for you to be able to pay them rent. And once you've paid off the whole rent after 25 years, you become a non-paying tenant. That's why you're a tenant on your mortgage. And as a result, they'll come after your house. And this is what happened from 2008 and what I witnessed all the way up to 2017, when in the UK, they took thousands of houses, thousands of them.
Are you saying that if someone was diligent to pay it off early, they get penalized later?
Yes, they get penalized. At some point in time, historically, some point, they will come after them as being a non-paid tenant. Yeah.
So what's the point of paying it off early or paying it at all?
There isn't any. But if you want to learn and live and eat in the world of fact and fiction, you better understand what these words mean. And he himself made it very clear. If you're going to stay in bankruptcy and in debt, learn how that mechanism works. If you don't, and you own something outright, that you own something 100% in a world of bankruptcy, because it's all bankrupt, okay, and it's all private notes, they're not going to allow it. They'll take it off of you. And I've witnessed that time and time again. When people come to us, when they come too late, it's too late. When they come to us early, we give them clear title, loyal position, and of course a whole heap of other things that go with it, because we're chewing the head of the chieftain and saying, hey, we know who you are, and you have not shown good faith, so I'm going to give you a good slap around the face to remind you what good faith is.
So if you're going to play that game, you got to play that game, but when you get out of it, you better do it right on the right venue and platform, yeah?
Because there are laws. Their position is to convince you that there are no laws. There are laws. Good faith law, and all of these things are law. You break that, there are severe consequences.
So deed, according to common law, is another word for evidence, is any legal instrument in writing which passes, affirms, or confirms an interest, right, or property, and that is signed, attested, delivered, and in some jurisdictions sealed. It is commonly associated with transferring or conveyancing title to property. The deed has a greater presumption of validity and is less rebuttable than an instrument signed by the party to the deed. A deed can be unilateral or bilateral. Full stop.
First of all, deed. In which jurisdiction is the deed in?
Common law.
And what is common law?
It's common to those chieftains, not to the man, woman.
It's common to the commoners within the court system of King's Court, Queen's Court. That's what common law is. It's not common to the so-called common people, because they get confused. They think common people are common people. No, you're not common people. You are actually strangers to the Queen's Court, Queen's English, and you are completely and utterly foreign. It's common law jurisdiction. Common law jurisdiction is the jurisdiction of the world of who? The chieftains, the fiefdoms, the feudal lords, the caste systems, the servitude, serfs, all these words that they use to show that you are essentially foreign to their way of life and you are part of their cattle and chattel. You know, the housing that houses cattle. That's in Black's Law Dictionary. Deed means that it's not actually within our common language. It's a language created by the chieftains. So anything that has like deed, warranty deed, title deed, any deed word is a common law jurisdiction, which means it's the chieftains that are controlling it. So when you resurrect these words, you're resurrecting common law fiefdoms, the caste systems. And further, the deed has a greater presumption. What is the presumption? What is the assumption and presumption? It is the mother of all what?
Okay.
Okay,
gotcha.
It works under presumption and assumption, which means I'm assuming that I own this property outright. I'm assuming that I own this car outright. Assumption and assumption will get a bullet in your head or you will lose your home. So we know that if you have a quiet title, it doesn't say anything. It's quiet. It has no ability to verbalize. It has no standing. It doesn't have the ability to be written. It doesn't have the ability to be read. It doesn't have the ability to be logged. It's quiet. This is a quiet room. So don't stop speaking. This is a quiet contract. So stop talking about it. It's quiet.
Well, those vessels or the straw man, whatever, they've been quiet anyway. So what's, you're dead. You can't even heard. So even if it's noisy, they can't even have that.
You're in court. It's a quiet deed, and it's common law. So shut up about it. Just enjoy it. Go and pick cotton. Go and farm the land. Just don't make any noise about it. Yeah, this is the way of life, and go get on with it. I think we've done a good job of disqualifying and putting into reality what quiet really is. It means you don't have a voice on the document. You don't have a voice in their jurisdiction, courts, and you don't have a voice in the common law courts, or you don't have a voice in anything because it's quiet. It's a quiet straw man. It's a quiet straw man. Yeah. Has that got anything to do with property? Has it got anything to do with ownership of land? It just simply means the prefixes that we're going to put in front of your name, like a Mr., which means you're subordinate to the court. Mr. is the lowest able seaman on a ship. or that you're a sir, which is a high-ranking officer on a ship, like sir this, sir that, or lordship, which means that he is the owner of the ship as well. So a master, which is what we are, that's our titles. Okay, we are masters of our own vessels, as in also Queen's Bench masters. You know, you have masters there. It's just a title. It's what you put in front of your name to say this is your qualification. A name that comes first is the man talking about his qualification, or the woman. If the title comes first, then that title, that qualification, is all dominant, and the man or the woman talking about it is subordinate to that. So if it's Professor James, the university will give the professor guidelines as to what to say, what to teach, and he's not a freelance. But if it's in letter of note, if it's James, Professor, then the man speaks first, and his qualifications qualify it. In other words, his qualifications doesn't speak for him, but the man qualifies his qualifications. He qualifies his position. So that's what it means. Man, name, or woman name, comma, then it's actually the man that is expanding upon the qualification. He never vacates his position as a man or a woman. Put the title in front. That title is subordinate. Is subordinate to the name. So if it's Chief Federal Postal Court Judge Mark Kishon Christopher, the title is all powerful, and I'm authorizing that title, so it runs this way. Okay, but if I put the title at the end and my name secondary, the position runs supreme. So I never give up the name. And this is how it all works in reverse orders, in fact and fiction. Because in fact and fiction, there's a lot of mirroring. There's a lot of changing of jurisdiction. So when they say Mr., it means that you are answering as an able seaman for not doing your duties. But if they say Christopher, with the title of Master or Mr., the man has to answer. What is the reason for what you did as an able seaman? As to opposed to, what is this able seaman got to say for himself in the jurisdiction as a man? In other words, it's the qualification, it's the position that's answerable, it's the straw man that's answerable. When people get to understand why there are so many words and why they exist, it's because it's to rob you of your position as a man. So you don't speak as a man, because only the man can speak for the qualification. It's always the man, it's always the woman. My straw man, my qualification, my professorhood, my federal judge cannot. It's the man that speaks. It's the woman that speaks. Yeah. And in the world of fiction, they create chairman, sue the chairman, or sue the board. Board of what? Oh, the governors. Who are the governors? You can't sue them by name because they are strong. That's why they say it's not murder, it's manslaughter, which is a corporate instrument. Manslaughter is, oh, this company killed off 200-300 people here by releasing poisonous gas because they didn't want to spend the money cleaning it up. It's manslaughter, which might carry a small fine and some community service for the company. When you have clear title, is there anything clear about it? I'm going to ask you again. When we have clear title or clear deed, does it mean what it means?
No.
Absolutely not, because it's so bloody murky. There's no transparency in it. So why don't they call it a transparent contract? Why do they call it a clear contract? Because it's poetry. It's an adjective. But transparency is not an adjective. So let's look up the word transparency.
According to Merriam-Webster dictionary, the quality or state of being transparent.
It's a quality of seeing straight through. Can anybody see through a contract? No. Can anybody see through clearly a warranty deed? No. It
No.
always comes up as no, 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 no. Yeah, but the Federal Postal Courts, they can. In legality, it means that if you use the solicitor, they use it, and you're supposed to be the beneficiary. And if you don't know they swapped it around, they become the beneficiary. But in trust, in faith law, or in anything lawful, it means firm belief in reliability, truth, liability, ability of something or someone. When you go through a solicitor, you've lost your trust position because they're going to reverse it. All it's done is successfully convey to you that you own nothing. Or that's all we've done. We've successfully conveyed to you that the whole thing is a massive fraud.
A lien, Lien, is a form of security interest granted over an item of property to secure the payment of a debt or performance of some other obligation. That's it.
Okay, so what that simply means, and paraphrase it and understand it right now for the general audience, what that means is that I put my terms and conditions onto that property and to that contract. That's what a lien is, that I have put my conditions, what in legality they call instructions, giving solicitors instructions. I put my terms and conditions, now they have to obey. That's all a lien is, ladies and gentlemen, and there are different ways of conveying it. So as long as you don't have the ability to write your own terms and conditions, that's how they like it. Kishon in Wikipedia says this. Denotes the legal possession of feudal, fiefdom, or fee. That is to say, an estate in land. It was used in a form of the son and the heirs of X to obtain Kishon of this inheritance. What it's saying is that when you have a Kishon's claim, you now own that property outright from the chieftain. In this country, the chieftain is the Church of England, which own most of the lands. You have to learn how to buy them out. And that's only a small percentage of what the Federal Postal Court judges do, because we know these mechanisms and we can go on and on. When we do our due diligence, it goes on for like 1 month before we get to the chieftain. Yeah, that's how much work it takes. And it usually takes 3 people to do that. Full stop. And I thought all this time, if I have a warranty deed, I had everything. So when one chieftain buys something from another, or when a lord, spiritual, and temple buys something, that's what they do. They go for this. And ladies and gentlemen, listen very carefully about to say. Now here comes a crunch. We know that the only factual money on this planet is gold, silver, and copper. Can you claim one of those Kishon with these fiat currency notes? Can you buy a chieftain out with these promissory notes?
No.
Because they're empty. What can you only buy out or from?
Negative.
How can you buy it off of them?
Gold, silver, and
gold
copper.
And silver. And if they have not performed for us in gold and silver, we put a lien on them, and we put a gold lien on them, saying you pay us because you have cheated us, and you need to compensate us not with this garbage, but with gold and silver or something factual, even Bitcoin. Yeah. And what I'm saying to the general public, if you think you can buy houses with this, you are wrong. Even a mortgage with this will not get you anything. The only way to buy something real, factual, is to use factual money. Land, property, patents, all of these things are factual. And the only way to buy it outright, like armies, like any contracts, is to pay your way through gold and silver or factual currencies. You cannot buy houses using this. You cannot buy real estate using this. When you use this to buy something, You don't own it. But because the general public did not know, and this is backed by their sweat equity, it becomes real to them, because you can convert fictional money into factual money, and that's what they do. They take your factual money and convert it into gold. Because they hoodwinked you from day one and lied to you about this and the land and all of these properties and things like this, they are so criminal that they have to go to FEMA camps. Because these narcissists and psychopaths and feudal lords, all operating under slavery systems, have no sense of remorse. They have no sense of regret, no sense of shame. Look at Tony Blair, who's a chieftain. Look at the Bush family, who are chieftains. Look at the Committee of 300, who are all chieftains. They don't have the moral fiber that we do. They don't have the center of gravity that we do. This is a parasite that tries to get into, and I'm sorry about the strong language, try to get into your anus to live in your gut system to feed off of you for the rest of their life using this. This is why the federal postal court systems are so powerful, because believe it or not, this is a representation of your sweat equity. It's a representation, and you can convert this into gold, and that's what they're doing. Okay? When you try to take this off the general public, which are your own instruments of fraud, called private reserve notes, Bank of England is private, and then convert it into public money, where it's protected by the Navy, on my oath, you will go to FEMA camps. The chieftains, the queens, the kings out there that think that they can do what they do, I'm going to put you in FEMA camps. I'm the holder of St. George's Cross. Don't ever forget it.